What's up, guys? My name is Jomel Socorro, and this is the Wannabe Boo podcast bringing you the latest and greatest game and anime news, reviews, and waifus for laifu. Now, if you noticed just by the intro, Jarron is not here this week for the podcast. He's gonna be out of town for at least just for a bit, and due to timing wise and by some weird scheduling mishaps here and there, I am going to be soloing this one for the week. So yeah, apologies if you guys like both of us here, but not a week will go by without at least a Wanna People podcast being uploaded just for you guys. So whether it's gonna be by myself or just Jarron, or with Jarron and myself, or maybe no one at all, you will get a podcast every week because 300 and some of you people are out there always downloading and listening and waiting for us to spew out some bullshit that we're always willing to put out. And again, I wanna thank I wanna be on behalf of John and I that we thank you guys for support and all that. So we'll get right to that. So John, if you're listening to this, sorry about that. But we have to move. We have to move on with the show, and hopefully you're not typing some weird pedo shit that you usually like to pull off in the comments, or maybe even as little a little tweet. Maybe I don't know. We'll find out. But if you're listening, Jarron, maybe this will be a good taste of, I guess, my own solo show and see how things go and how long I can last without anybody. Probably won't last that long anyway. So I'll just start off for a little bit. So far, this past week has been the most hectic because, at least this past weekend, most likely, and also the week too, because this past week we at least where I work, it was quite a stressful day, a stressful week at work, and only because like this was this past week was the 4th of July, and as a belated note, happy 4th of July to those in the States, and if you're not from the States, well, yeah. So this past week is quite busy for me at work, and a lot of paperwork being shifted around and filed. I also had some minor stomach problems come Friday morning. Note to self, and also a warning to those that are ambitious and are quite adventurous when it comes to food. Never eat like 40 something wings at like different spice levels and mix them at one night, because you will have stomach issues for the rest of the next day. I can contest to that. Other than that, I also attended Anime Midwest over here in the Rosemont. Oh, yeah, in the Rosemont Convention Center, as well as the Hyatt Regency O'Hare over in Chicago. This was my first Anime Midwest attendance. I mean, granted, I only went one day. I went Saturday, and it was actually quite a pretty interesting experience. I mean, obviously, it's not as big as Anime Central and all that, but the size of it didn't really, I guess, make a difference to me, because there was still, a lot of people bustling out in cosplay, and a lot of people, doing their con thing, getting pictures done, getting their cosplay on, and walking around and such. You still got your standard fare of merch over there down the merch hall, and as well as the panels as well. Most of all the panels actually were held in the Hyatt. Unfortunately, I did not get to see any panels due to some time restraints. So maybe next time, maybe next year. I do plan on going back next year. Hopefully for the whole weekend. I'll have to see, because right now that one day filled me up quite a bit. And small shout out to Anthony, to my good friend Anthony, who I actually ran into at Anime Midwest. So, because I was sort of by myself when I was wandering around that Saturday afternoon. So if it wasn't for him, I'd probably still be I probably would have been wandering around by myself for a bit. So he joined me for a bit, and he also likes doing his own thing. He actually ran a panel there as well. Don't quote me on this because I can't remember what the panel name was. I think it was a My Hero Academia panel. I don't remember the name, but I remember the premise. The premise was, if the writer of I can't speak right now. If the writer of My Hero Academia, suddenly gave up the rights to the series, which big hero franchise would best suit My Hero Academia. And it was a discussion between the big two industries, the big two in the industry. So it's either Marvel or DC. Unfortunately, I did not attend the panel, so sorry, Anthony. I'm gonna have to see you again next year, rock out your panel. But it was an interesting concept because personally, I do believe that if My Hero had to fit in and between those two brands, I'd probably go with Marvel. Personally, just because like the quirks in My Hero are very colorful, and not just visually, but colorful when it comes to the variety and just how creative a lot of the powers are, or a lot of the quirks are. And I've been mostly exposed by Marvel throughout my life, so maybe there's maybe some bias, but I do have to say that I will have to stick towards Marvel and the scheme in the in the grand scheme of things. But that's just my opinion, guys. What do you guys think? If the writer of My Hero had to give up the series and some other big comic book company had to take it, what do you think? You think it'd be Marvel or DC, or I don't know, or maybe even something, or maybe even a different one? Anyway, it's up to you guys. You just comment down below or even tweet at us if you have any discussions, or even any ideas of if you have any. So yeah. Bit of a segue here. I'm actually right now recording in the kitchen of my home because right now, okay, right now I'm recording this sort of day of. So you guys are going to be, you guys are going to get your Monday podcast as usual, but I'm actually recording this on a Monday morning, which is very last minute and also very what's the word? I'm blinking out here for a second here because I'm by myself. You know, I need a dictionary sometimes. No, a thesaurus. I need a thesaurus sometimes. I procrastination. There you go. It's very procrastinated, if that's even a word. But I'm trying my best here, guys. And the reason why I'm in my kitchen recording is because I'm actually cooking a big ass pot of ribs for the barbecue I'm gonna be having at work. So I don't know. It's a bit of a slice of life segue of what's in the life of Jomel, if any of you care. But yeah, big 2 rack of ribs, and I know I can't really record a podcast upstairs usually, otherwise fire might start, or I have to watch the pot. I gotta watch the pot and make sure that it doesn't spill over and doesn't cause a fire and burn everything, including all the podcast material and everything, and especially my posters. If anything, if it's anything else, my posters will be one of the few things I'll save. JK, I'm kidding. Mostly. But I get. There's not too much to talk about when it comes to solo shows like this. This is the first solo podcast that we've done in the past 24 weeks. Yes, I believe this is episode 24, and I forgot to mention that in the in the beginning. See, look at this. I'm terrible, guys. I'm terrible at even getting the number right for when I'm by myself. I just can't do it right now. I don't know. I'm getting better. I'm trying to get better at this. And there's something I do want to talk to you guys about, because I don't know if we ever talked about it on the podcast. Probably not. But uh, well, overall, anime has evolved, right? Anime itself, the industry, the medium, has evolved into something that's better or worse depending where you're standing at. Hopefully, it's better because to be honest, I've given I've had some conversations with some people talking about how maybe some anime today aren't as maybe good. I guess they're not as good as the classics, quote unquote. That if you've heard that, that goes for any kind of like pop culture or medium. When it comes to like movies or TV shows or hell even like material things like cars or cooking ware. But it's there's always the argument of the old or the classic was always the best kind of thing. Now this also applies to this conversation applies to anime as well, but I have to somewhat actually no I'd have to disagree with that. Looking back from where the industry has come, I'd say that the anime industry as a whole has come a long way from its 1940s origin, if I'm correct. Don't quote me on that because I have no facts in front of me. But it's been a long time. It's been quite a long time since like the first few Japanese animated shows, and if coming from coming from a veteran status from a veteran's point of view, a newcomer would actually a newcomer into the industry would have so much of a giant catalog to watch. So like, so one of the arguments is that there's a lot of shows are exactly quote unquote exactly the same, or they're all the same genre, or there's just a lot of weird shit. Well, let's be honest here. There's always gonna be weird shit when it comes to anime, but people talk about the weird outlier stuff that's not suited or that shouldn't really quote unquote count as good anime. But I have to disagree. If I was a newcomer and I didn't know what to watch, I literally have tags upon tags of what I could possibly be interested in when it comes to any anime I could possibly want to watch. That includes your standard magical girl, or your mechas, or your shonen action adventure, shoujo. For both the guys and girls, because it's 2018. We can all be inclusive about it. There's no need for any exclusivity within our community. What else? What else? Okay. Just from that, there's plenty. There's a plethora of different kinds of genres, different kinds of shows that anyone can get into. And it also goes back to like if you don't like a specific kind of show, like a specific kind of genre, then you don't really need to watch it. I mean, yeah, exactly. You don't have to watch it. You don't need to watch it. And frankly, it's probably suited for someone else that could get into it. Um, that's I'm putting in my two cents in there just a bit because I've had this conversation with Jarron before, and also with some people I've had with at work as well. Because like there's so many things to watch, and that's actually and I know that's actually a really good thing. I actually love the fact that there's so many things to watch that it's overwhelming. Yes, but there's so many things to watch because there's so many different things that well there's so many different ways people can get into anime, in general. Whether you can start off from watching a sport anime and then moving on to I don't know like a mecha adventure series. Either way, there's always a foot, or there's always a door to get your foot into. If I piece that together. Um, and wherever you start, it doesn't matter because there's literally hundreds or probably even thousands of shows now. Maybe a lot of shows. There's a lot of shows that any newcomer can start on and either expand or just stick to that genre, and maybe eventually they'll grow into other genres as well. And I think that's what's beautiful about today, like anime today in general. Not I'm not talking about today's anime, but anime today as an industry. Because I mean, you don't have to start the new stuff. You can also start the old classic stuff, or even start off with the new stuff as well. There's no wrong in between. There's no wrong going between the two. You know, and as the as one of the co-hosts of the Wannabe Boo podcast, I would love to introduce newcomers or other veterans, that are looking for a different kind of genre or something to spice up their viewing experience. Something different they're not normally watching all the time. And I'm always open to discussions and recommendations when it comes to these things. You know, we gotta stick by each other and help each other find the shows we want, and that may include hentai. That's I'm just saying, that's just me. It goes both ways. When you talk about anime, you also gotta talk about hentai. But I'm not gonna expand any further on that because Dron's probably gonna kick my ass for trying to plug a hentai plug into this solo podcast because he can't physically stop me or vocally stop me at the moment. But moving on from that, there's also something else I want to share with you guys. This Dron will probably do his, further down, either next week's episode or maybe down the line. But I actually want to share with you guys my first experience or my coming of age with anime, with the industry itself. Or I'm not. I'll just go ahead and say it. What were the animes that popped my cherry into the industry, and that got me so hooked to the point where I am making a weekly anime podcast with a good close friend of mine, and I will be sharing with you guys that today. So lucky you guys, you guys are gonna get a flashback backstory on how I, Jomel, became a wannabe boo. All right. So long ago, it goes back eons, many moons ago, when I was but a lad. Uh, Actually, yeah, about a lad, maybe 3, 4 years old. Funny enough, the first anime that I was ever exposed to was Sailor Moon. Like most of us, uh, magic, either Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball Z. But for me, it was Sailor Moon. And you know who was the one that introduced me to such colorful series? My mother, actually. Apparently she was also a big anime fan when she was growing up as well. Kind of weird. I don't know. Bit of a segue just to fill in some gaps and some backstory. But going on. My first anime that I ever experienced was Sailor Moon, and granted, I don't remember it as much, because I was small and my wee brain was just developing at the moment, and it's hard for me to process all these colors and stuff like that in dialogue without having a seizure here and there, epilepsy and shit like that. But what I did know for sure was that I was enjoying my time with the series. And not only did I enjoy it, but it was quite memorable, ironically. Because, besides all the colors and stuff like that, it was quite engaging for myself. It was really entertaining, for lack of a better word. But even if the stories were very basic or, for their time, I always found myself enjoying an episode of Sailor Moon, and even I probably did watch all of it, including some of the movies as well that came out during the time. I think it was Sailor Moon R, maybe, or S. Don't quote me on that. I'm really bad at my job right now. But yeah, that was one of that was the first series that I was exposed to and that I actually really enjoyed, despite being a tiny lad of a weeb back then. And then, of course, obviously, everyone's starter beginning series when it came to anime was Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball. So Dragon Ball and then Dragon Ball Z. First time getting into the series of shonen. Yeah, it's a show. It was a show. Getting into a shonen series, and also the action adventure genre. Per se, right? When it came to that stuff, and it was so cool. Everything that I was experiencing when watching both Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z was unlike what I found from Sun and Moon, obviously, because there was, well, besides all the talking, when there wasn't any talking, all the action scenes were really cool. It was flashy. There was death. At least yeah, there was obvious death. There was maybe some I don't know. Point is though, there was a lot. It was a lot of it was a lot of it was a different experience for myself. And granted, I only no, I have kept up with it. I've kept up with it over the years and all that. Even watching as far as what is it, Dragon Ball GT. The one that's non-canon. Well, technically it was non-canon until now with Heroes, where it's being retconned back into the sort of, maybe, I don't know. I'm not completely sure. I haven't checked out Heroes yet, and I probably should. When it comes to making sense to the entirety of how the series is trying to work itself right now. But yeah, Dragon Ball was also, Dragon Ball was my first shonen series and my first action series, and I adored it to death. And I think that one of the most memorable things that I could come up with while watching DBZ was probably the Frieza fight. Probably most people's memories, but it was the Frieza fight because there was so much talking, but as a kid you don't really mind that kind of stuff as much because you're just waiting you're waiting for that build up. They're just shit talking each other back and forth. Goku has his hands up, ready to like drop the ball, literally drop the ball on a Frieza, and it's taking like 5 episodes. But like 10-year-old self doesn't give a fuck because you're just like, oh my god, they're still talking, but it's so cool, very motivational and all that. And even before the Frieza fight, just the build up to like the Frieza forms and Goku transforming into a Super Saiyan for the very first time. That was just magical and just, well, I wouldn't say magical, but it was quite powerful. It was a sight for sore eyes for such a for a young person. But I mean, this is coming from this perspective of someone who was younger during the time when DBZ was out during its popularity. Because right now, I literally grew up with it. So maybe there's some of you that were already a little bit older than I was when it came to when DBZ was quite popular during the time. But other than that, I actually there was a bit of a gap. There was a bit of a anime gap during my teen years, like during my middle school years, because I only knew anime through Toonami at the time. Like Friday through Sunday morning. No, yeah, Friday. No, I don't know. I can't remember. I believe it was probably from way back then, like back in the early 2000s. It was like Friday, it started on Friday night and like Sunday morning, like Monday morning, like the late night shows and all that. Well, when it turned to Adult Swim and all that, but they still showed some, like Rurouni Kenshin, and some other like stuff, some other mature shows as well. Quote unquote mature, but like Cowboy Bebop and maybe Eureka 7, probably. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, there was a bit of a gap here. There was a bit of a gap when it came to me viewing anime because, again, I only knew how to watch anime through TV, through Toonami, and at least back in the day, my father was the only one with a computer, and I didn't even know the internet held such treasures like anime and everything else that the great God has given us. Until I reached high school, freshman year of high school. One of the first few things that I looked up when it came to any newly coming in freshmen were clubs. And of course, as the soon to be wannabe, I was, man, this is some weird build up. I had joined the anime club for my high school. That's right. Just like every other high schooler that's ever went to high school, that's also a weeb. Joined the anime club, and lo and behold, I myself was back in the game, baby. I was back. I was getting my weeb on, getting all the anime that, well, all the kind of new shows I should be watching, all the new shows I can watch, and as well as access to that because there were computers and such like that. Technology. As technology advances, so does the acquirement of the treasures that we hold dear to ourselves. And since then, I've kept up with every season of every anime season to date. Well, today until today. And I gotta say, I've also come a long way when it came to my anime experience as well. Because, well, a long way in a sense where my tastes have changed. My tastes have changed. Obviously, everyone's tastes change over time. My tastes have changed, and also the amount I watch change as well. Because back then when even after like high school, even during college and stuff like that, I used to keep up every season with 13 or 10 or at least 10 different series at the same time during every new season. I keep up with all the new episodes every week, and nowadays I just can't. Well, I don't think I just can't do it. It's more like my interests have shifted and filtered itself to a point where I'm only seeing, a couple of shows that I find interesting, or maybe the premise is pretty cool, or there's just a unique aspect to the story that I don't really find as much when it comes to other series. And it's been a long run. I obviously don't plan on stopping when it comes to watching anime. I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. If me from 20 or 30 years from now, if I'm still watching anime and still doing a weekly podcast with the wannabe boos, then I've won. I guess. But yeah, that's my story, guys. And I mean, you all obviously know my first con experiences and all that from a couple podcasts ago, and I did share, and I did share my first anime Midwest pod. No, sorry, my first anime Midwest con experience as well. That was pretty fun. Unfortunately, I didn't really do much vlogging, nor did I do any kind of roadshow over there because I was trying to experience the con itself as a whole. Because, you know, I you gotta get in there pure and without any kind of distraction and just take it all in. Oh, but that's the one thing. That's the one. There was one thing that did surprise me when it came to the quote unquote differences between Anime Central and Anime Midwest was that Anime Midwest is, I guess, known for their like ramen, as in free ramen, and I didn't know how to take that. Like, I don't know, it was weird. It was different. It was different than what I was used to, so that's probably why. Um, so I mean, unfortunately, guys, today it's gonna be a very very short show. So if you guys were expecting like our usual hour and a half shows, this week could be cutting it really short. Because I know next time when we talk, we're gonna be discussing, Darling in the Franks. Because as of this recording, Darling in the Franks is now over, done, and just finished. And I'm quite sad about that, honestly, because despite the unpopular opinion, maybe I don't know, maybe to some, but despite the unpopular opinion, I actually did, and Jarron and I did enjoy Darling in the Franks. And we're not the only ones. I know plenty of people love the show just as much as we did, and I also know that some people didn't like the show. What can you do? You can't please everyone. But on this podcast, we are raving about it, and we will be discussing more about it in hopefully the next one. Hopefully the next podcast and all that. Because, man, last time we talked about it, there's so much shit has happened, and I'm holding myself back. I'm holding myself back right now to tell you guys if you haven't watched it, or no, just to tell you, just to talk about it. But I want to do it with Jarron because Jarron and I have been following the series literally for the past two seasons for both cores and all that, starting from episode 1. So if you got, stick around, guys, because next week will most likely be a Darling the Franks heavy podcast. Just a giant discussion about the series, the direction they took, and the finale about the finale of the entire series. Now that's one thing I personally enjoyed the finale. I think it ended the way I expected it to end, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm not okay obviously that it's over, but I'm okay how they chose to end it. And as always, guys, Futoshi is that boy, and will always be the boy because he deserves that much happiness that he has gotten, and always will have. Just a little bit of a Futoshi rant right there. Just a bit of some news. More videos on the on the official YouTube channel will be coming out soon. I'm trying to work on a couple more essays, and I'm also gonna expand on the whole Anime Today topic as well. So, as always, guys, thank you for downloading. Thank you for listening. We always appreciate every little bit of support from you guys. Remember to follow us on our social medias, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter. Yeah, I think that's it. Our Facebook, Twitters, or even our personal Facebooks, both Jarron and I, and also my Instagram. I'll probably put it down below because I also want to, I also want to open up my Instagram to you guys, and hopefully I can break 100 followers. That's nothing. It's okay. I'm just trying to better myself. And as always, guys, my name is Jomel Socorro, and this is the Wannabe Boo podcast, bringing the latest and greatest game and anime news, reviews, and waifus for life. We'll talk to you guys next time.